Wrestle Kingdom is always a funny little event. Like, you go to sleep on December the 31st, you wake up, oh, it's January 1st. And then a few days later, you have this huge event that has massive consequences, and it's like, good grief, does the wrestling world ever stop? And of course, the answer is no. It popped up in 1812, that's a wild exaggeration. And ever since then, it must continue day in, day out, until we all just flutter away. But it works for me because my name is Simon Miller and you are watching WhatCulture Wrestling, plus you are watching the show where we give the good bits an up and the bad bits a down. And Wrestle Kingdom Night 1 just finished over here in the UK, so I've turned my lights on and it's time to do exactly what I just said. Let's up those downs for night number uno. I don't know. Right, as ever, if you do want to get the true New Japan Wrestle Kingdom experience, you always tune in a little bit early and you watch the traditional Battle Royal. Now look, most Battle Royals aren't even that good. They're just kind of fun to sit down and watch, and this one was no different. But holy maloli, it went on forever. I think I aged about 3 years, and simply because of that fact, it's got to get it down. And of course, there were plenty of fun moments, like when Nagata and Suzuki got eliminated first, but then just kept fighting on their way to the back because nothing is more important than punching each other in the face. And Yano was able to proceed to tomorrow night's match as part of the victory foursome before he even got in the thing, simply because he came out last and went, well, only 3 people left in it. Well, hey, woohoo, I win. Kinda. It means that Ibushi, Chase Owens and Bad Luck Fale will now be on night 2, fighting for the King of Pro Wrestling 2021. And all of this was just fine. It was just kind of there. But honestly, I think it clocked in at 35 minutes. I don't ever need to see a 35-minute battle royal. New Japan then went New Japan, and we had a Don King impersonator singing the Wrestle Kingdom theme song. And I'm not even making that up. It does sound like something I would make up, but don't worry about that, because we also had an appearance from none other than Riki Choshu. And I completely get that sometimes people do watch these kind of videos to learn, and just know that back in the 80s, this dude was a super duper big deal, and therefore, when you see him in 2021, not 2020, it's still a flipping big deal. It was nice to view him on my television set. We then got on with the show properly, and we kicked things off with Takahashi taking on ELP, and it just did exactly what it needed to do. They were both fighting out to see who would make it to night 2, where they will challenge for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, and they essentially did every single move you can think of other than locking up. But I'm sure at some point they probably did that too. I also think both guys were just trying to be the first human beings ever to achieve flight, because they spent so much time in the air. Now, Phantasmo also let us know that he was a super dick here, because not only did he destroy the Best of the Super Juniors trophy, but he also went after Juice and Thunder Liger. And you just don't do that. It would be like entering Thundercats land and going after Lion-O. You leave him alone. ELP also hit this crazy moonsault to the outside that was so attractive I gave it a call up and asked if it wanted to marry me. I'm still waiting to hear back from the move. And he also teased the Stars Clash, and I thought he was going to hit it, and he didn't. Takahashi reversed it into the Diamond Plunger for a near 2. All of this was ticking my boxes. Takahashi was also selling his fingers for ages because we had done the finger break spot earlier on. And then, of course, we bumped the referee. I mean, I don't know what the hell happened in 2020 New Japan. Maybe Vince McMahon got on Gado's ear, man, you've got to bump referees all the time. And thankfully, there wasn't too much on night 1. But as a culminative effort, I never need to see a referee get bumped again. It allowed ELP to hit Taka twice in the balls, as well as finally getting that Stars Clash. But I suppose all this did do was make Takahashi look like an even bigger badass, because he didn't lose here, he wasn't defeated, instead he hit a Hurricane Rana and then kind of trapped the legs, and he got the surprise 1, 2, 3. I'm just gonna say this a little bit quietly, just on the down low, it was a little bit like the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, but we don't say that when it comes to New Japan, because it really lights a fire under some people's asses. Takahashi therefore then goes through till tomorrow night, and I can already feel it in my bones. It's a very strange sensation, but ELP obviously is gonna get involved because Bullet Club, that's what they do. El Phantasmo also pretended to be Kenny Omega at one point. That was really strange. My good friend Tamatonga, even though he did try and kill me that one time, and his tag team partner Tangaloa then became 7-time tag team champions by obviously winning those titles. up. They defeated Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi, and I tell you, this happens every single time. When we go into Wrestle Kingdom, nobody cares about the tag belts, like, yeah man, I don't care what I really give two hoots. And then we have a match, and it always exceeds expectations, and that's exactly what happened here, especially when like Zack Sabre Jr. was on the top rope, and he was yelling at Taichi, and he actually went, man, dude, come on, it's the effing Tokyo Dome, because he was all fired up. So yeah, there's not much buzz going into the thing, but when all is said and done, you had a good time. It's a little bit like having sex. What? I don't know. Also, we all talk about Zack Sabre Jr. being, well, he is the best technical wrestler in the world, but my word, that man can run wild after a hot tag. Especially because he doesn't do what most wrestlers do. He just tries and ties you up in weird octopus holds, and every single one looks like they flip it out. The Guerrillas of Destiny were still able to get back in control, but then it went really bad because the tag team klaxon sounded, which as you know means everybody is allowed to get in the ring and just hit as many moves as possible. Unfortunately though, Tama Tonga was able to use this to his advantage. He got Taichi's weird iron glove thing, then he twonked him right with it, then they hit the ape shit. These are not my words, this is what the move is called, and they got the 1, 2, 3 to become once again your IWGP Tag Team Champs. They celebrated like it was the greatest day of their life, but this also could have been because Taichi whipped his pants off at one point, which he is wont to do, and when that happens, it's really hard to figure out why somebody has a smile on their face. What a weird thing of me to say. The internet then melted down. Why? Because a Jon Moxley promo aired on the big screen. So you had half the people going, oh my gosh, Jon Moxley's gonna come back, he's gonna defend his title. And the other half going, I can't believe Jon Moxley didn't turn up to New Japan. Because I was convinced he was going to, even though everybody involved had told you over and over again, he ain't gonna do this. Sometimes just listen. Whoever does win this US title contract though is screwed because Jon Moxley is gonna kill him. And he didn't say that, but it certainly sounded like that may have been his intentions. As always, Jon Moxley is just great. He was great for all of 2020, and he'll probably be even better in 2021. All of this did mean that it was then Kenta versus Kojima for this opportunity, and I will say this, it was far calmer and far less manic than most of your Wrestle Kingdom affairs, but I actually thought that it benefited because of that, and it stood out. This is mostly because Kojima, my word, does that man know how to sell? He get it up. All of it, get it up. And that was the story here too. Kojima had constant flurries of offense, but Kenta was always able to beat him down, and he looked like a baby that was in desperate search of his parents. Because I imagine in that scenario, the kid would look very... That's how let's just move on. But yeah, so we had a lot of big moves, then we had a lot of pain, then we had a lot of big moves, and we had a lot of pain. We also had a DDT onto the apron, courtesy of Kojima, onto Kenta that like he broke his neck. I realized I was having, I would say, a good time, but like a worried good time. Just a New Japan good time. You're enjoying it, but you're also terrified. The only issue I did have was yet more referee nonsense. Like it was fine within the context of the match, but it's like anything. After a while, you just get a little bit bored. But Kenta basically just attacked the referee at one point so he could use the briefcase as a weapon, but oddly, that didn't even win in the match. In fact, he was never able to use the briefcase because Kojima just kicked it away. He then hit a lariat for a near fall, which I guess I bought to a certain extent, but ultimately Kenta just got him, gave him the go to sleep, 1, 2, 3, he retains the briefcase, and as we all knew deep down, he will at some point in the future take on Jon Moxley. I really didn't need that ref bump, and therefore is getting it down. It just kind of made Kojima look more stupid than he needed to. But I know this is what fans wanted, and I wanted it too. I want to see Kenta versus Jon Moxley. Can you imagine how nuts that's gonna be? And I presume that Moxley will lose, mostly because of the pandemic. They also learned that New Japan are going to be releasing a mobile game. Now my stream completely screwed up here, so I have no idea if I was meant to see that or if I wasn't meant to see that, but I did read it on the internet, and there were also teases, well not even a tease, they told you that New Japan is coming back to the UK and US television. As of right now, we have no idea in what fashion this will be, but I think it's pretty exciting. The Western invasion, not the right term at all, is back on. Next up, well, we had the ace, we had the man, we had the king of Wrestle Kingdom, we had a flipping legend, and it was Tanahashi, who of course was taking on the great O-Khan. I actually thought this was a lot better than I was expecting it to be, but my word, the New Japan commentators could calm it down a little bit with our here comes Tanahashi. Tanahashi is old. What an old man, he even gets a free bus pass. However, he's so damn good up. And that was really the problem with the whole thing. Like, it wasn't great or anything like that, and in many ways didn't actually feel like a Wrestle Kingdom match, but we just kept pointing the finger at him and saying that he was an elderly, decrepit man, which means the Great Okan had no chance. If he did beat him, well, he just beat an old dude, even though we would have gone crazy because we know Tanahashi is a legend, and if Tanahashi wins, well, Great Okan just got beaten by an old dude. Also, look, I understand that Tanahashi's knees basically don't work anymore, but he still has this aura about him. I don't think we need to go in this direction. The other worry, of course, was that Tanahashi was going to lose, but he didn't. And in fact, he was in control for a lot of this. When he was selling, he's brilliant, we all know that. And then he hit 2 high-five flows from the top, one on the back, one on the front, and yeah, he got the 1, 2, 3, he walked away. Kind of felt like a match that you'd see every other day of the week. But I had my fill. He is so damn entertaining though. At one point he was going to use a chair and then decided against it because he's just a good guy all the way down to his guts. And yeah, I am just a little bit worried about his knees. Like, he was selling them throughout the match, but when he walked away down the aisle, it was like an action figure that desperately needed some WD-40 put in the joints. I worry about this guy, even more so when I've got a bunch of people going, oh my gosh, he's so old. Would we just leave him be? He did spend most of 2020 putting everybody else over though, so hopefully in 2021, well, I suppose given the storyline, given the narrative, he gets one last big push to the top, then ultimately he fails. There's nothing up there. I just feel like it's more poignant if I look off into the distance. What an idiot. But it was fine though, it was easy to watch, it was easily the Great Okan's best appearance to date, and I know you're gonna say, well, that's because who his opponent was. Well, he can only do what he's able to do, and I think he did. But yeah, if this hadn't been on the card, not 100% sure I would have missed it. I do have a feeling that somebody that will defeat him within this 12 months period is Will Ospreay, and the main reason I bring that up is so that I can segue into Okada versus Will Ospreay. This was the highlight of the night. We had a video package beforehand letting us know that Ospreay has now turned into this mob boss from Essex, or whatever the hell it's meant to be, and I really do believe that 2021 is going to be his year. But somehow, every year is also Okada's. These two guys just have the best chemistry. Not ever, but I'll say ever because I'm a big fan of hyperbole. As ever too with any kind of Okada match, the first 5 to 10 minutes feel like they go about 20, but then the last 15 to 20 minutes feel like they go about 5. The way he builds things is just so good, and of course because it's always about the ending, about how you feel once all is said and done, they just work, and it's gotta be Okada's best matches in ages. I don't think Ospreay is actually capable of having a bad one. This was all built around 3 basic moves as well: the sleeper, the clothesline, and the dropkick, and it just goes to show when you give someone time and you allow the fans to invest in certain moves, you can do whatever the hell you want. I know the money clip doesn't really get that much of a reaction from fans and we all prefer the Rainmaker, but still, it's in Okada's arsenal and he just makes it work. Okada kept busting these 3 things out of nowhere, which really put Ospreay off his game, but when he was in control, my word, was he just trying to make a statement. Like, he was on the outside at one point, he was ripping out maps, and he was teasing that he was going to tombstone or smash or pile drive Okada's head into the concrete, and when that didn't work, instead he suplexed him over the steel barricades through 2 tables. I mean, come on. And that also just annoyed Okada, who got back in the ring and tombstoned Ospreay onto the apron. No wonder these guys are always hurt. They're always hurting each other. Other than that, just go and watch it. It also tells a phenomenal story where Ospreay came flying out of the gates, which he did do, but it meant halfway through he was running out of gas. But that's when Okada, being the experienced guy he is, started to find his flurry. It was so well told. His kick out after the Oz Cutter 2, honestly. We can sit here, we can make a big list and we can debate it, but one of the best near fall artists ever is Kazuchika Okada. It made me go, oh my gosh, I actually thought he'd lost. He couldn't have kicked out, if he had kicked out any later, the referee would have had to call it like a shoot and he would have been defeated. That's how close it was. As it turned out though, all this moving away from the Rainmaker in 2020 is so that he could bring it back with a bang at Wrestle Kingdom, and that's what he did, and also how he put Will Ospreay down for the 1, 2, 3. It made the fans go absolutely nuts even though they weren't meant to, and honestly, this was 35 minutes, and as I already hinted at, it did not feel like it at all, and it was one of those occasions where even though Will Ospreay lost, he comes out the other end feeling like a massive star. Within 2 years, because New Japan does like to take their time, which I appreciate, he will absolutely be the IWGP Heavyweight, that's right, champion. This was so good that I'm intrigued to see if anyone can actually top it on night 2. It made me feel all warm and fuzzy. Let's say it together. in my tum-tum. With all that said, our main event did come close, especially with the emotional finish that we did receive, but the issue comes in what Naito and Kota Ibushi have done before this. And my word, will it make your brain scream. Because every single other match they've done, it felt like somebody was going to die. And while I would rather they did go and do other things like they did here, because it lacked that kind of terror and that kind of horror that other matches did have, they've set a bar for themselves that they can only top if they once again try and kill each other. I mean, how the hell are you meant to make sense of that? But either way, it's getting it up. And the big takeaway, of course, is that Kota Ibushi is not only finally the IWGP World Champion, but because he did beat Naito here, he is now the Intercontinental Champion as well. I mean, you could leave it there. It was really, really nice, and he deserves it, and he's been smashing fools for years. Of course, we have the slight issue of what happens on night 2, but we'll get to it. So yes, this was a lot safer than what they've done before, but let's not pretend they still didn't pull out the big guns. At one point, Ibushi gave Naito a Hurricane Rana off the apron, and if he hadn't put his hands down on the floor at the right time, he probably would have shattered his neck for the 35,000th time. Also, Naito went flying into the steel barricades. It looked like it sucked. He also sold that wonderfully as well, because he got back into the ring at like 19.9 seconds. And I am such a schmuck, and I am such a schmerl, I actually thought for just a slight second this was how it was going to end. Naito was going to get counted out. What a flippin' sap. There was also a ton of kickouts from all the big moves. This is also an issue and a problem within itself, although it's certainly not exclusive to New Japan. Every time I saw a Kamigoye or every time I saw a Destino, I was like, well, we have to hit at least 27,642 more. And yet even then, when some of the near falls were this tight, I still bit. Somebody shoot me out of a cannon, I'm a moron. I also really did think Ibushi was going to be defeated once more when he went for an old school Phoenix Splash and utterly missed it, and the fact that Naito hit a second Destino. However, Ibushi kicked out, he then hit a third Kamigoye, and I was like, well, that's got to be it, and it was. There's your new double champ. But it was really, really good stuff, and New Japan sold it like a moment, which it was, when of course out came Jay White to ruin the party, because he is the ultimate party ruiner. He made it very clear that he thinks this is only going to be a 24-hour thing because he will win at Wrestle Kingdom Night 2. And do you know what? There's a part of me, this part, that actually believes that maybe that could be true. I don't know why, and I don't know where this feeling has come from, but it's bravo to New Japan because that's exactly the story they want you to buy into. And I have bought into it like Scrooge McDuck. I can see it happening too. I can see it happening. Jay White wins, probably by nefarious means. Once again, Ibushi has to climb the ladder. Now, it may be one climb too many, but it's all about the execution. And now, of course, I want to watch night 2, which means we could also up those downs in around about 24 hours time. And a small spoiler for you, we were going to do it anyway. So I will say this felt like a slightly less, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, Wrestle Kingdom than what we're used to, but we understand the reasons around that. Everybody is struggling, and overall, it's still getting it up. If you enjoy what New Japan does, well, they just New Japanned ya into the new year. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about night 1. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. WhatCulture.com has more information on the event, so check that out. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, to stay up to date. And look, you can watch more videos here. We've got all the wrestling news all of the time. My name is Simon for WhatCulture. Thank you for joining me as always. And yes, Tuesday, tomorrow is ups and down crazy. We will up those downs for Raw, and we'll up those downs for Wrestle Kingdom Night 2. I will see you then.